Hey guys, Phil from Trail Talk MTB here, and today we're going to do a bit of a first ride review on the new Norco Fluid FS1. So if you know anything about the Norco Fluid, you would have known that it's Norco's kind of entry-level dual suspension bike. The old model had been around for a fairly long time and it was kind of tending to show its age at this point. So it had a quick release in the rear, kind of dated geometry, and the suspension performance wasn't really up to the standard of other Norco bikes in my opinion. The new Norco Fluid FS is a big departure from that. It really is a true trail bike. While the build quality and suspension performance has definitely increased over the old Fluid FS, one thing that hasn't changed is the price. So the bike started around about 2,000 Australian dollars, and this is the Fluid FS1, which is the top of the line model, which is around $3,199 recommended retail price. The one thing that also has changed definitely is the geometry. So coming into riding dual suspension bikes, you want that confidence, and usually in these cheaper dual suspension bikes you won't get that geometry with the price, but with the new Norco Fluid FS you definitely get that. So up front you have a 66.5 degree head angle with 130 millimeters of travel, and then in the rear you've got 120 millimeters of travel. Boost front and rear. You also get that steeper seat angle that we're seeing in a lot of the new bikes coming out, so really up to date, so 76 degrees. And then you also get a decent reach, so on the large you get that 470 millimeters of reach. So this bike really is up to date and you don't have to spend that much to get it, and just riding it now you have bucket loads of confidence with that geometry, and it's even more progressive than the Sight, so the all mountain bike. So it definitely is a really confidence inspiring bike, especially if you are entering the dual suspension market. Getting something like this and upgrading it as you get better would definitely be a great option. So Norco knows that a lot of new riders are going to be riding this bike, and in doing so they provide a comprehensive setup guide. So they give you suspension pressures as well as tyre pressures, and for me, putting in my weight, I got around 25% sag in the front and 30% in the rear. And then for my tyre pressures, I got 21 psi in the front and 23 in the rear. They use the 2.6 inch 29 tyres, so a bit more volume, a bit more confidence for those riders entering the market. So a bit about the spec on the bike. So as I said, I'm on the Fluid FS1. So up front you have the RockShox Revelation with the new debonair air spring for this year, so bigger negative air spring. Really plush, decent amounts of support. I did run 2 clicks of compression on there just to make it sit up a little bit more in the travel, going over the chunky stuff that I was riding today. But other than that, feels really good at the given pressure that was recommended by Norco. Brakes, you've got the guide T's. They'll be good enough for most riders. I'm not a huge fan of guides. I feel like they just don't have enough power. But again, for the trail situations that most people will be doing on this bike, it will be great. So tyres, as I said, 2.6 inch Maxxis. They're the forecasters, so good all-round tyre, especially for people that are going to be riding in all conditions. So decently wide tread, so spaced apart, so it's going to be good in dry as well as wet conditions. Really a versatile tyre. So in the rear we've got the Monarch R. Norco designed this bike specifically around the shock, so it wasn't, the kinematics were designed not having a lockout. I didn't really feel a need for a lockout, and on most 120mm bikes you don't really need the lockout. Decently plush. I really like these new metric shocks, especially the RockShox ones. They're nice and plush off the top. Really good shock. Other than that, Trans-X dropper post, they've improved the lever for this year. Definitely feels a lot better. Has 130 millimeters of travel. I would have liked to see 150 on the large, but other than that, it's alright. And then NX drivetrain, so it performs really well. Might not be the lightest, but decent drivetrain. So now onto how the bike rides. Not going to give too much away as it's a first ride review, but definitely climbing. That steeper seat angle, so 76 degrees, really puts you over the bottom bracket so you can put the power down. It's definitely a heavy bike, so 15.5 kilos, but I don't feel like it carries that weight. It definitely pedals like it feels more kind of like 14.5 kilos, kind of around that range. But yeah, as I said, definitely a comfortable pedaling position. And the suspension kinematics, definitely decent amount of anti-squat, so it does pedal pretty well. You can definitely feel it is definitely active when you're standing up and pedaling, but there's no real noticeable pedal bob that I noticed. So as I said, pretty good climber for the given weight. I wouldn't say it's the best 120mm climbing bike, but definitely up there, especially for the value. Onto descending. The geometry really does inspire confidence, especially for this bike. A lot of new riders are going to be on this bike. That 66.5 degree head angle and that decent reach, so 470 millimeters, really going to help a lot of beginner riders, and I felt really comfortable as soon as I jumped on the bike. Compared to the Sight, in terms of stability, I'd probably say that this probably feels a little bit better. Just going over that kind of chunky rocks, you definitely notice that extra 10 mils of travel on the Sight. Kind of tracks the ground a bit better when this kind of skims over, but they're pretty comparable, honestly. I probably felt almost a little bit more comfortable on the Fluid. So I'm going to be putting a couple of months on the Fluid. I'll definitely be coming back with a full-term, long-term review coming soon, but I really enjoyed this bike so far. It's an awesome bike if you're looking to get into dual suspensions, and it's going to carry you for a long time. If you want to upgrade parts on it, put a 140mm fork up front, make it a bit more capable, it's definitely going to be a great bike for that. And it's really thoroughly modern as well. You don't really find that on these kind of cheaper bikes. That 76-degree seat angle and 470mm reach really is great at this price point.